What really sort of struck me going to Cambridge was the people who said, I don't really like Corbyn, I'm not a Labour voter, I support the Conservatives, but actually they need to do a bit more of what Labour is doing when it comes to things like rail nationalisation or sharing wealth more equally. I mean, do you think they're right?
Well, I think the chap at the market spoke exactly. I think we need to be honest and recognise that some of the things that Labour are doing are speaking for the anxieties of the British people, a general sense of unfairness, a fact that many millions of our countrymen and women have struggled with the difficult economic situation. So we need to be honest about that, and we need to present a moral message about conservatism. We need to show that we're on the side of those who are struggling the most. We need to show that we're on the side of workers. We need to be seen as the social justice party, and it can't just be about Brexit, and it can't just be about economics.
I mean, do you think at the moment the Conservative Party has a bit of an image problem? I mean, you represent Harlow, don't you? A kind of blue-collar Conservative seat, formerly a Labour seat. How do people in Harlow view the Conservative Party?
Well, I mean, they voted for me, but I think we do have a serious image problem. I think that people don't understand what our values are. They just think we're about one thing, austerity or Brexit. They think that the Conservative Party doesn't speak for people who have real difficulties in their day-to-day lives. And I think we can turn that around. And the Prime Minister, to be fair, did go back to being the Prime Minister of 2016 in her conference speech a couple of weeks ago, talking about the cost of living, fuel duty-frees, more council housing, but we need to do a lot more.
So what do you want to see? We've got the budget, that's an opportunity, isn't it? What would you like to see in the budget?
Well, we need to have a workers' budget. It's got to focus on the cost of living. We should carry on cutting taxes for low earners. We've got to sort the universal credit out. It needs to be a skills budget, so we should do a lot more. We should guarantee every single young person in our country an apprenticeship who wants one. We need to be the cost of living party, cutting the cost of living party, so it should be a cutting the cost of living budget. We'd have to do something about extortionate train fares and utility bills, and the government have done some good things that I've recognised, but there is a lot more we need to do. And above all, we need to kind of present a narrative, not just have a series of closed pegs without a washing line.
I mean, it sounds expensive. Do you think we need to borrow a bit more?
It may be that we need to borrow more in terms of capital funding to build more, build our infrastructure, new hospitals, our roads. But actually, I think we can manage the existing budget better. So, for example, people in my constituency of Harlow can't understand why we're still giving £14 billion in overseas aid when my Harlow Stroke Association, or Harlow Stroke Group, I should say, doesn't have enough money and has to get rid of a coordinator. So should we cut that budget and use that to help the lower paid?
If you say the Conservative Party has an image problem, then that's not really helping the kind of nasty party image, is it?
Well, we'd still give money. I'm saying, let's say, if we cut it by half from 14 billion to 6, 7 billion, it's not that I'm saying give it to the rich. What I'm saying is we should use that money to help those most in need. And I think the public would understand that, especially at times when there isn't a lot of money going around. I mean, we say, for example, business taxes. We say that more money comes into the exchequer by cutting business taxes. And that's something like it went up by 21% between 2016 and 2017. Why don't we set up a capitalist redistribution fund and give that money back to the lower paid or spend it on poorer communities?
We were talking a little bit earlier about Labour, and you were saying not to sort of underestimate the threat of Labour. If there was an election tomorrow, do you think Jeremy Corbyn would win?
Well, who knows what would happen? I think that they're in a very powerful position. We're just the latest poll says it's roughly level pegging, or we're a few points ahead. In 2017, we were 20 points ahead, and look what happened. So we need to get our message right. We need to present.
So you think they could win an election?
I think that they're in a good position, yes, if I'm honest. But I think we could be in a good position too, if we can get our message right, if we present ourselves as the party of the ladder of opportunity, if we're seen on the side of workers, if we're seen as the party for social justice, for skills and genuinely affordable housing, then I think there's all to play for.
Now, I mean, things have got pretty bad, haven't they? If one of your own MPs is saying that he wouldn't vote Conservative if he wasn't in Westminster. I'm talking, of course, about that extraordinary intervention from Johnny Mercer. He also said if he wasn't an MP, he wouldn't stand to be one now for the Conservative Party. I mean, is that how you feel?
No, I mean, I understand where a lot of these MPs are coming from, and Johnny Mercer, who you're talking about, is a good person. What I want to happen is for the Prime Minister to get back to being the Prime Minister she was in 2016, when she stood on the steps of Downing Street and said that her main priority would be to address burning social injustices, and captured the mood of the country. And I don't think a change of leader would particularly help, especially in the middle of Brexit. I think she deserves support in that, whether we have agreements or disagreements about the approach. But I do think she has to be the Prime Minister of 2016.
I mean, some of the comments in the newspapers today are pretty shocking, to be honest, some of the language. Johnny Mercer's not necessarily one of them, but some of the anonymous quotes about her in the paper. The Sunday Times says she's in the killing zone. The Mail on Sunday, she should bring her noose to the 1922 committee meeting. I mean, this really sounds like she's lost control of the party.
Well, I'd say to those people who are giving those quotes, this is not the way to change things. This just confirms what many in the public think of us, that we're all out, potentially out for ourselves and not on the side of working people. What we need to do is be fighting for policies and fighting for conservative values, as I've been talking about social justice,
the
about
leader
skills,
matters
about
as
housing.
well, though, doesn't it? I mean, look at Johnny Mercer, for example, saying that Theresa May has to go because he can't continue to support an administration that cannot function. I mean, you're making a very pointed critique of where the party are. Surely that is linked in with the leadership.
But who is this magic king or queen over the water that is suddenly going to solve all the Conservative Party problems? And it doesn't matter if it's Theresa May or Mother Teresa, unless we get our values right, unless we are seen by the public that we're on their side, unless we sort out the Brexit thing and actually unify as a party. It doesn't matter who's leader. There's no one, as I can see, who's got some magic solution that is going to solve everything.
But isn't that quite depressing? That you look at the Conservative benches and you can't pick out someone and think, actually, you know what, if that person was the leader, then I could really rally behind. He would really speak to my constituents. I'm
not saying there are many talented people, and there are some great people who may be leader of the Conservative Party. I suspect that the next leadership contest will be like out of a Ben-Hur movie. It will be a cast of thousands running for the position of leader or prime minister. But what I think we need to do first is get our values right. And I think what would solve the problem is that Theresa May, and she signalled a little bit of this at conference, but it can't just be a speech. It's got to be something really serious to be the Prime Minister she said she was going to be on the steps of Downing Street in 2016. It was only when we lost that, when it was just a kind of confusion, the fog of Brexit, that we started to go down in the opinion polls, and when we lost our way with our as I call it, the Alan Bastard manifesto of 2017, that the public moved away from the Conservatives.
I mean, one person that is often talked up as a potential caretaker leader is David Davis. How do you feel about that?
Well, again, it's all speculation. David Davis is very talented. He comes from a working background that many people would relate to, but so do others, you know. And so, but I go back to my main point. There's no, in my view, a magic king or queen over the water, ready to jump in, and everything that, every problem that the country has will automatically be solved. Let's get our values right. Let's get our messaging right. Let's present ourselves, our party, as the party of the ladder of opportunity for millions of working people in our country. And then let's see what all these leadership candidates, when the Prime Minister decides to go,
should she decide
let's
to go
see what's their platform.
After March?
Well, it may be that she decides to go after she's got Brexit through. I think that's going to be a matter for her. But
would it be a good idea, you think, to hand over to a new generation?
Well, there's no point in saying let's have a new generation until I know what these people are going to stand for. I don't know what whoever's going to stand. I don't know what their platforms are. I don't know what they're going to do for the country. I don't know what they're going to do for Conservative Party. So I think it's not the right way to approach it. Let's sort out our values, our mission.
Well, talking about values and mission, you're chair of the Education Select Committee. What would you like to see when it comes to education and social mobility? Because for many people, you know, this is the key to values.
Well, I mentioned earlier, I think we should guarantee, not just say we're going to have more apprenticeships, which we're doing, but actually we can't match the Corbyn promise on tuition fees. It would cost billions and billions of pounds of taxpayers' money. It wouldn't be fair to people who are not students who would end up paying for this. What we can do is say to every single young person, we'll guarantee you an apprenticeship if you want one. So you get the skills, you earn while you learn, there's no debt, you climb up that ladder of opportunity, you get job security and prosperity at the top of the ladder. That is the sort of thing we should be offering our young people. We should be addressing social injustices. So, for example, we have 40 children excluded every day in our schools.
Is there a risk, though, that by kind of trying to outdo Corbyn, you're never going to win at that game? You need to try and find something that is kind of uniquely Conservative, if you like.
But it's not outdoing Corbyn. Corbyn, cleverly, I don't think he has the right solutions to this. but they're recognising the anxieties of working people across the country. We need to show that we recognise those anxieties too and come up with conservative solutions. I mentioned one to you about using the extra monies raised from business taxes that have come in, from cutting business taxes, to spend on poorer communities. There are many things that Conservatives could do, but we have to show working people that we're on their side.
If you don't, could you lose constituencies like Harlow at some point?
If we don't get this right and be the social justice party, be the party for workers, be the party of ladder opportunity, then yes, we will face in my view, a potential huge defeat at the coming election.
Is it existential for the party?
Well, I think there are a number of existential questions facing our party: our lack of membership, our problem with message, our problem with policies, the divisions over Brexit. And I'm being very honest about that to you. So that's why we've got to get these things right. That's why I'm arguing in the way that I am, that be the Prime Minister you were in 2016 can't just be about brilliant speeches at party conference. It's got to be about translating this into action.
OK, Robert Halfon, thank you very much.